Right now, while you're watching this, your brain is lying to you. Not in a vague, poetic way. In a specific, measurable, provable way. And by the end of this video, you'll have caught it in the act at least 5 separate times. Some of them you'll be able to test on yourself right now without leaving your chair. You think you're looking at the world. You're not. You're looking at a reconstruction of the world. One your brain builds for you, with pieces missing, pieces invented, and the timing quietly adjusted so you never notice the seams. Let's find the seams. One thing to hold on to as we go. None of this is a malfunction. Every single one of these is your brain working exactly as it should. This is what seeing and hearing actually are. We just never get shown the machinery. Let's start with the most literal example there is. An actual hole. Number 1, there's a hole in your vision, and your brain paints over it. Right now. In each eye, there's a spot where the bundle of nerves carrying signals to your brain punches straight through the back of your eyeball. And at that exact spot, there are no light detectors at all. None. A completely blind gap. And it isn't tiny. At arm's length, it's big enough to swallow the full moon several times over. So why don't you see a black hole floating in the middle of everything? Because your brain flatly refuses to show it to you. It looks at the colors and textures around the gap, makes a confident guess about what's probably there, and quietly paints it in, like a photo editor cloning over a blemish. You're not seeing what's there. You're seeing your brain's best guess about what's there. And you can catch it doing this. Close your left eye, stare at the cross with your right, and slowly lean toward the screen. At a certain distance, the dot beside it will simply vanish, swallowed whole by your blind spot. And your brain won't leave a gap where it was. It'll calmly fill the space with blank background, as if the dot had never existed. Now, the uncomfortable part. If your brain will invent scenery to cover a hole this big all day without ever once mentioning it to you, how would you know what else it's quietly filling in? Hold that thought. It gets worse. Number 2. You go blind for about 40 minutes every day. Because there's a second thing your brain hides. And this time, it's not a hole in space. It's holes in time. Your eyes don't glide smoothly across a scene the way it feels like they do. They snap. Tiny, violent jumps. 3 or 4 of them every second, all day long. And during each of those jumps, the image smears into useless motion blur. So your brain does something drastic about it. For the length of every single jump, it switches your vision off. Blanks it completely. Then it hides the blackout by backfilling it with whatever you're looking at when your eyes land, and even stamps that final image backwards in time, so the timeline still feels smooth. Add up all those little blackouts across a day, and you spend somewhere around 40 minutes of your waking life functionally, totally blind, and have never noticed once. Estimates vary depending on how you count, but it's a lot. And you can prove this one in about 10 seconds. Go to a mirror. Look at your left eye. Now look at your right eye. Now flick back and forth between the two as fast as you like. You will never, not once, no matter how many times you try, catch your own eyes moving. The motion is always already finished by the time your vision switches back on. But sit a friend down next to you, and they'll see your eyes darting back and forth the whole time. The movement is completely real. You're just not allowed to see it. Your own reflection is keeping a secret from you. Number 3. Magenta is a color your brain invented. So far, your brain has been hiding things. Now watch it invent something out of thin air. Here's a rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. That is the entire visible spectrum. Every color that exists as a real physical wavelength of light, laid out in order. Notice anything missing? There's no pink in it. No magenta. They are simply not there. They don't exist anywhere on the spectrum. And yet, you see magenta all the time. So where is it coming from? Here's the trick. Red sits at one end of the spectrum. Violet sits at the far other end. When light from both ends hits your eye at the same time, your brain has a problem. Those two colors are supposed to be as far apart as colors can possibly get. So instead of showing you some muddy average, your brain does something audacious. It bends the spectrum into a loop, joins the two ends together, and fabricates a brand new color to bridge the gap. That color is magenta. It matches no wavelength of light. It exists nowhere in the world outside your head. It is, quite literally, a color your brain made up, and then decided to hallucinate every single time, so reliably that you and everyone you've ever met are all convinced it's real. You've been staring at an invented color your entire life and calling it pink. Number 4. Real silence is so loud it disturbs people. All right, eyes are clearly a disaster. Let's talk about your ears, because they're hiding something too. Not a color, not a blackout, a sound. Your ears are almost unbelievably sensitive, tuned right up against the edge of physics. If they were even slightly more sensitive than they are, you'd hear a permanent faint hiss, the sound of individual air molecules randomly bumping into your eardrum. Evolution stopped just short of that line, because one notch further, and the world would never, ever be quiet. But that sensitivity has a consequence. There's a kind of room called an anechoic chamber, engineered to absorb every echo, one of the quietest places humans have ever built. And when someone steps inside and the door seals, and the outside world drops away completely, they start to hear themselves, not their thoughts, their body, the thud of their own heartbeat, the rush of blood through their veins, a faint hiss that may be their own nervous system, sounds that have been playing non-stop for their entire life. Because normally, your brain deletes them. It decided long ago that the constant noise of your own body is useless, and it filters it out so completely that you have never consciously heard it, even though it has never once stopped. The silence you think you know isn't silence at all. It's an edit. You'll sometimes hear that nobody can last more than a few minutes in there. That part's more legend than fact. But the strangeness of suddenly hearing your own body is very real. Number 5. You're living in the past. Which brings us to the last one. And this is the big one. Because everything so far has been about what you perceive. This one is about when. It feels like you're experiencing this moment live. Right now, as it happens. You're not. You're watching a replay. Light hits your eyes. Sound hits your ears. And then your brain needs time. Real, physical time to turn all of that into an experience you can actually have. And by the time now finally arrives in your awareness, the event that caused it is already over. You are living roughly 1/10 of a second in the past. Always. You have never once experienced the true, live present moment. And you never will. And it's stranger than just a delay. Different signals reach you at different speeds. Light gets there before sound. A touch on your face arrives before a touch on your foot. If your brain played each one the instant it landed, reality would be an incoherent mess. So instead, it waits. It holds the signals, lines them all up, stitches them into one tidy, synchronized moment, and only then hands it to you, letting you believe you watched it happen in real time. Your now isn't a window onto the world. It's an editing room, running a fraction of a second behind, splicing reality into something that only feels seamless. Exactly how long the lag is, scientists still argue about, but that it's constructed. And late, they don't. So let's add it all up. There's a hole in your vision, and your brain paints over it. You go blind for minutes at a time, every day, and your brain hides the blackouts. Colors appear that exist nowhere in the light, and your brain invents them. Your own body roars nonstop, and your brain mutes it. And the present moment itself arrives late, and your brain edits it into something that feels live. You have spent your entire life believing you were looking straight through a clear glass window at reality. You never were. You've been watching a reconstruction the whole time, patched, muted, colored in, and running slightly behind, built by a brain doing everything in its power to hide the effort from you. And here's the part that should really get you. It's still working. Right now. On you. It's so good at this that even after everything I've just shown you, the second you look up from this screen, the world is going to feel completely, perfectly, seamlessly real again. That's the trick. You're not watching reality. You never have been. You're watching the only thing you've ever actually known. The show your brain puts on. If that rearranged something in your head, subscribe. Part 2 is coming, and it turns the lens on something even closer to home. Not your senses this time. Your mind. See you there.